it wasn't picking up on the webcam, on the external mic. Now apparently it is. Let me turn off this. Hello everyone, we're live again. Is that working? Are you able to hear me? I'll turn up my volume a little more.
I can't hear you because you're muted, remember?
Chase says it's working now and it sounds great. So Audrey, I'm not gonna unmute myself. I better unmute myself, otherwise I'm gonna hear you back double. So, okay. Let's do it the way that we were doing it, and hopefully it works again. Hello, everyone. I'm Judith K. Friedman from the Mythsinger Legacy Foundation. The Mythsinger Legacy Project. Okay, take two. Hi, we are live. I'm live, and I think you are as well. So the Mythsinger Legacy Project is keeping the work of Daniel Deardorff, Mythsinger, bard, wonderful myth teller, songwriter, producer, artist, activist, humanitarian being, ritualist, singer of the old songs and teller of the old stories, and my beloved for the last 14 years of his life. When Daniel flew out of this story and into the next in 2019, he left us a great legacy, and we are so excited that his book, The Other Within, The Genius of Deformity in Myth, Culture, and Psyche, has now been published in an expanded third edition with new commentaries by Martin Shaw and Robert Simmons, and a few words from me. So I was just talking about this chapter I'm about to read, because it's Giving Tuesday, and the thought that we had was to give back to community with the generosity of spirit that Daniel gave us and the world in his work. And that also is it's the way I want to live. I know that. Whenever possible. Pardon me. So I'm really kind of flummoxed by the fact that the tech got weird twice. And I know we've lost some people on the way, but hopefully it'll come back. So I was talking about how the word aporia, which is this chapter that I'm about to read from, what that means, and reading from the expanded glossary at the back of the book to give you the exact wording that Daniel used. An irresolvable internal contradiction or logical disjunction. Aporia, A-P-O-R-I-A, an irresolvable internal contradiction or logical disjunction. We all have that in our own hearts. So what I had been starting to say, and maybe some of you heard it, but other new people will hear it now. And yes, I see that Loki and Hermes are out there playing their tricks on us. Someone wrote in the chat. Yes, that's true. We're all floating. We're being tested to see if we can roll with both orality and not only literacy, but technology to a degree that we never had before. And so in this talking about that moment in historical time, which of course is a zigzag staggered in different places in the world in different eons, where moving from indigeneity in connection with the land in a hunter-gatherer society or tradition where people were moving around in much smaller groups, where there's nomadic life, where there's kinship with the living world in great reciprocity. And then there's this advent of so-called civilization. And the mark of that, which Daniel taught about a lot in using as a metaphor, but also the visceral literality of it, is Alexander's wall, Alexander the Great's wall, or as he talked about it, Alexander's iron gate, shutting out the wild, the anathema, the uncivil. All of a sudden there becomes something negative about everything that isn't kept inside and built up as civilization, which then imposes itself upon all of that external, but also within itself, the wildness in every single being within that civilized structure. So what Daniel said was Alexander's iron ramparts split the human heart, the wild, the civilized, the human heart, the breathing human heart, the beating human heart that we want to bring back to wholeness. So this is what he writes. And if you have the book, it's on page 31. Standing like the appellant god at the crossroads gate, the initiand now surveys a puzzle with no solution. An aporia, one road for the good citizen and another for the scum of the earth, the dirty, low-down dog. In his book, The Myths of the Dogman, David Gordon White situates the dog as a ubiquitous mythological image for the undesirable, exotic, and inferior races. The image presents its loathsome apex in the misogenic, cynocephalic, dog-headed man. Cynocephalic being the dog-headed man. The complexity of just why the dog is given this slanderous distinction will be explored further in the book and is explored in Gordon White's book. In the meanwhile, for now, on this YouTube Live, it is enough to know that the dogmen were originally thought to inhabit the wastelands at the edge or threshold of the world. On civilization's term, this situation is just fine, so long as the monsters do not transgress the boundary. However, as imperialism expands toward the outlands, and as we know, has run to every single edge of the world now, even the farthest remote areas being impacted by climate change caused by all of this imperial behavior for centuries and certainly recent decades. As imperialism expands toward the outlands, and with the occasional invasion of cynocephalic hordes, protective measures must be taken to ensure the continuous purity of social structure. Keeping the dogman separate from civil society is synonymous with keeping one's personal defects, quote unquote, walled off from consciousness, and especially walled off from the visible public persona. A great wall, then, is erected to be the first and last line of defense against all that is outcast and vagabond. This ideological wall has its most potent precedent in the legendary Iron Gate built by Alexander to hold back the barbarian tides. And I know there's a few people with us. Is there anything that you want to add into the chat about this? Do you feel the split between wilderness and civilization? How does it impact you? Of course, the world has changed since the time when this portrayal was taken as fact, Deardorff writes. Instead of the finite flat earth, we now have a round globe with no apparent edge. Boundaries shift daily. The great exoteric walls are demolished. Civilization, Alexander's side of the gate, has now overrun the entire surface of the earth. I'll just say a few more things because I wanted to share this passage for several reasons. One is it's the first one that I ever heard Danny teach from. And another is, to me, this is the crux of the book in large part in terms of the healing potential And also on this given Tuesday, when we talk about generosity, how can we not be talking about generosity of spirit and generosity of the heart? And how a broken heart can't be as whole and generous as it wants to be sometimes. But in the tension between all the broken parts, which is what we have inside and out in this world now, there's great generativity. So, to go on a little bit further in the book, the term civilization or mass civilization, as used throughout this book, includes not only all varieties of state and pontifical rule, but also and more particularly the tyranny of civil society. In its devotion to the one-sidedness of structural status and public persona, civil society must be seen as the tool of oppression and exploitation, a tool bent on upholding the idea of an individuality with no actual association to the depths of the implicate shape. And this idea that there is an implicate shape is one that comes both from Daniel's own understandings and his studies of David Bohm's work with the idea of the implicate order in the universe. I hope that this taster has given you a little bit to chew on today, and we'll close there and see you again here at 3 o'clock with a whole different passage about music. Take care. And please do follow us on this channel. And also you can give to the Mythsinger Legacy Project and to the Songwriting Works umbrella organization, both on mightycause.com/songwritingworks. And Songwriting Works is the fiscally sponsoring agency for the Mythsinger Legacy Project. Thank you so much for being part of our work and our world. See you soon.